We are the only show that can talk about nothing.
The use of all Bubba-isms is prohibited without the express written consent of Bubba the Love Sponge.
This is not staged. It's not nothing. It's very scientific.
It's not in a giggling mood.
Right.
The Bubba the Love Sponge Show.
On hold, or on Zoom, I should say, so we could make this a visual thing, which, by the way, Lummy, great score with this guest.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And Jacob, welcome. And first of all, wanted to start things off by thank you for your service, because I know you're former military.
Yes, sir.
Glad
to be here. Thank you for having me.
As much as people have ran you through the ringer and the things that you have been through and the way you've been treated, very rarely has anybody probably actually thanked you for your service. This is what we do to our veterans, is we do, we don't really care about them. The VA is a joke, and a guy like you who really didn't do anything wrong gets absolutely railroaded. And that's the big thank you for your service. There you go, buddy. Right on down to federal prison, 41 months, you piece of crap. See you later. Bye. Right?
Yeah, well, compared to some of the stuff that other people have been through, what I went through is light. I mean, the trauma that war veterans have experienced, the losing of limbs and stuff like that. I got both my arms, I got both my legs, I got my sight. I had to endure 10.5 months of solitary confinement.
I agree with you, but let's get into that. So this is obviously Jacob, Chansley, and he's better known as the QAnon Shaman. He's the guy. He's kind of, for those that don't know, you've kind of, Jacob, been spun as the face of January 6th.
Oh, absolutely.
Wrongfully so.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying like I agree with that, but the media. Everybody made this guy the bad guy.
Well, you got to call him that name. You can't call him Jacob because no one would know him by that name.
Right.
But I don't even like to use the other name.
True. I don't even like to use the other name as well. His real name is Jacob Chansley, but they've, the Yellowstone Wolf.
No one knows who that is.
But they have made this guy public enemy number one. We probably should just unwind it, Jacob, and that is, could we go through the events from you that have now been, I think, proved to be correct. I think Tucker Carlson's video did a lot to get people's minds, like what really happened. But can you give us, from the time that you woke up on January 6th to the time you got arrested, timeline, for the most part? I know not every little idiosyncrasy, like how many poops you took and what you had for breakfast, but like the general.
Take us through that day.
Yeah, take us through that day,
please.
Okay, well, the thing is that I have a motion in the courts right now to vacate my conviction and my sentence, because the footage that was on Tucker Carlson was not in the original discovery that was given to my attorney. So my current attorney has advised that I not divulge too much of what happened on that day. Now,
hold on. Let me stop you, though. Let me just stop you. I do have two guys that are part of my show are attorneys, nonetheless. And Jay, what were you saying earlier, agreeing with Jacob on how mishandled this was? You were saying there was some lawyer 101.
On a fundamental level, 101, there's a duty of every party to provide exculpatory evidence. That means evidence that hurts your case. And so the government, in this case, withheld the video for years, which forced him to plead guilty to a plea that he would have never pled to if what he knew actually happened was provided to him on video. There were thousands of hours of video that were not provided until the Republicans did it through a public request, and then they gave it to Tucker, and he went through it all, and he found the clips that related to Jacob. The judge saw it. I think I'm reciting this correctly, Jacob. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he was pretty much shocked by it. And, has anything happened to the government lawyers that failed to produce that to you?
No. And just to let y'all know, or clear the record up now, because there's a lot of confusion, the footage from Tucker Carlson, while I'm very grateful, it had nothing to do with my release.
It just was temporally, it just happened around the same time, so it's why people, I think, confused as one leading to the other.
Interesting. What provided the evidence?
Providence.
Well,
It was divine providence.
I think you know what, Jacob. A lot of people don't know that, in the fact that that a lot of people think it was because of that happened. But you're saying you were due to get released, regardless if Tucker ran that piece or not.
That is correct. So I got my release date sometime in mid-February, and Tucker released his the footage. I think it was on like March 7th or March 8th, and then I was due to be released on the 28th, regardless of that footage. It was just divine providence that God decided to have that footage air 3 weeks before my release.
But you know what? I think that footage helped you in a lot of different ways, because there's probably some people, Jacob, that maybe believe the media, that didn't do their due diligence, and as to how all this went down and how it was shoved down the Americans' throat, that think Tucker having that footage, even though you were scheduled to get out, I think maybe really, really bettered your cause with the American public. I really do.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That's why I say it was divine providence, because it was 3 weeks after that the footage aired that I got released. So for 3 weeks, people are like outraged that I'm still in prison. And then right before I get released, in the court of public opinion, a lot of people believe that I was exonerated. So it's definitely been interesting.
Now,
So what was the basis of your original release that was scheduled before the video came out on Tucker? Was it new video and new exculpatory evidence? What was the basis?
No. What it was is I had 6 months worth of good time because I hadn't gotten in trouble while I was in prison. In federal prison, you only serve 85% of your sentence, assuming that you have good behavior. And then I also got an accumulation of what are called First Step Act credits, or FSA credits.
Oh, yeah.
And that gave me another 6 months off. So I got a year off of my sentence, and then I was released to halfway house 2 months before my release from my sentence based on that year off.
but Jacob, you still did
So he served his
probably
time.
more. I mean, you still did your hard time. And really, didn't do anything. You really didn't do anything and served hard time. Doesn't somebody have to be responsible for that? You're an innocent man.
Well, yeah, but vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And, I'm of the belief that God will deal with people more harshly than I ever could. So my thinking is I'm just going to leave it to God. If God has the divine wisdom to release that footage three weeks before I'm released, then, I really wonder what's going to, what will be the consequence for the attorneys that chose to withhold
This
that
may
evidence.
be the first video ever, Bubba, that's ever been produced where he gave that explanation. I searched for hours last night to research Jacob, and all you find, the first 20 videos they provide for you are 41 months convicted, CNN, MSNBC. It's hard to even find the Tucker piece where his old lawyer provided a little bit of commentary when that video was disclosed, like he said, through divine intervention at the end when he was going to be released anyway. I never heard until today he served his sentence and he got released for good time.
Because nobody wants to get this guy's word out.
Nope.
Everybody wants to bury this guy, and everybody has such a misconception as to how all this went down. I mean, Jacob, I saw footage of you not rolling around there like a wild man. I saw footage of you being escorted, like almost given a tour,
praying for the police.
I mean, right? I mean, am I wrong? Can you comment on that? Did I see the right footage?
You saw the right footage. I can't exactly explain why, but I promise you there was a very good reason that the police were escorting me around the building looking for entrances to the Senate chamber.
Right.
And good reasons for both of us to be doing that. I can't wait to tell, the story. I really think it would create a lot of clarity for people. I'd really like to tell Tucker. I think that giving him the exclusive would be the right thing to do.
I do too.
But
I mean, Tucker's kind of
or Bubba.
You mean I've actually been on Tucker's show, and he's actually a good friend of mine. And for 6 years before he went to Fox after MSNBC, from 2006 until 2012, he used to call my show every Tuesday, and we would just cut it up and have a great time. But I agree, if there's a really good reason as why they were escorting you around on both sides of the aisle, nonetheless, I think that Tucker if that story is as exclusive as I think it is, I agree with you. Tucker needs that story. He deserves that story. He does.
But, I think something that, obviously you can't talk about some of the details of that day, but I think something that would be very interesting to the listeners is you explaining what happened after you were arrested and what they did to you for those months before you were tried and how you were treated and what conditions you had to survive under.
Okay. Well, so after my exit from the building, I had already gone viral on Twitter. And my life from that point on was completely turned upside down. I had the FBI and the Metropolitan Police looking for me. They had put out a request for information about me. My phone number had gone public. My address had gone public. I had random people calling my phone. I had death threats. I had all sorts of crazy stuff happening. My phone just kept blowing up and blowing up and blowing up. My social media, my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, my YouTube, all of it got taken down.
Like boom, like bam, just happened just like that.
They pushed the button on them. They pushed the button.
Yep, they pushed the button and it was over.
Now, were you still in DC at that point?
No, when all that stuff got taken down, it was like the day after, and I was on my way back to Phoenix.
Right, but they didn't get you at the airport or nothing like that. You were able to get home.
Well, I drove.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah,
because they were waiting for you. Because TSA was waiting for you, Jacob. You know that, buddy.
Hand them your ID and all.
But that's the thing is
30 guys.
If they were, which I'm sure that they were, I'm not one that runs. I don't tuck tail and run.
No.
So when I found out the FBI was looking for me, I just called them, and I was like, "Hey, I heard you guys were looking for information on me. I figured you'd want to hear it from the horse's mouth. What's going on?" And
they're like, "Yeah, would you come down to the field office there, Jacob?" Is that what they said?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it was more so. So where are you right now? And I was like, well, I'm driving back to Phoenix. I really don't know where I am, but
yeah, because they were going to send Smokey and the Bandit after your ass. You know that, buddy.
Yeah, so I arranged.
Too bad they were probably pinging your phone anyway, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean they knew where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, you were literally probably for a little bit, Jacob. You were public enemy number one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were the guy at the top of the list that they were trying to find.
Yeah, well, you know what, man? Gandhi was public enemy number one for a while.
He was.
Sure.
He was.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's like, hey, I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna inconvenience anybody. If you want me, then okay. I'll set up a meeting. I'll talk to you. And
so you get back to Phoenix, and then you probably do you lawyer up and go to the field office, or do they come to you?
No. They told me they just wanted to talk, which I naively believed them.
Right.
I asked if they were going to arrest me. They said, no, it's just misdemeanors. I don't see a reason to arrest you. We just want to talk to you. And I was like, look, you can tell me now if you're going to arrest me. I'll still show up. I just want to know if you're going to arrest me.
So I can wear some clean underwear. I want to wear clean underwear at least.
A toothbrush.
Yeah. So I set up a meeting with them. Oh yeah. And there was also, I did an interview with Alex Jones. I think it was on the 8th.
Yeah.
And, they say you don't ever want to meet somebody you admire. And God love Alex, but I was going on a show thinking it was going to be a fun, cool conversation. He just started berating me and calling me names and making fun of me and telling me that I'm a liar and all this other stuff. And
really?
just like,
well, maybe
me.
Jacob, maybe little Alex is projecting a little bit. He's in a little bit of trouble. And the fact that little Alex is in far more trouble than you ever thought about being, my friend. And he was just trying to pass the heat a little bit because he is up. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that's in some bad problems right now. He'll never get out of that problem that he's in ever. I mean, you are going to get out. You're going to get out of your problem, and I think that you'll probably have a more fairer day in court soon. I think he's done, man. He's absolutely done. That's just my opinion.
Well, I really feel sorry for the guy. I mean, there's a lot of truth that he's brought to the public, and that's part of why I was like, "Oh, cool, I get to go on a show." And then it really didn't turn out well.
Well, he didn't
But,
better himself though at testimony. Like he did not better himself. You know.
Why do you think he attacked you though? It surprises me to hear you say that.
You're all about what he stands for.
Him. He was the one that gave me the name Q Shaman.
What?
And then the media ran with it. Yeah, dude, I never called myself QAnon Shaman. The media said I called myself QAnon Shaman. That's not true at all. Never called myself that. Never called myself Q Shaman. You will never see another article or a video where I'm calling myself QAnon Shaman or the media is calling me QAnon Shaman until after January 6th.
Interesting.
So anyway, I got to Phoenix. I get into the field office.
Now hold on. Had they already heard Jones's interview and we're all lathered up on that too?
I don't know. Probably. And then so I got into the field office. They pat me down. They search me. They make sure I don't have any weapons or anything, which I don't do that.
All right.
So then they brought me into an interrogation room. They read me my Miranda rights, and I was like, shit.
Yeah, you're like, that's not usually a good precursor to good stuff.
Mm-mm.
No. And then they're like, so you want to talk? And I was like, well, I'll tell you my side of the story. I got nothing to hide. It was just misdemeanor charges that I thought at the time. So I told him everything that happened, how it is that I got to DC driving, and how it is that how everything unfolded. I told him everything that they saw on Tucker, so the government can't say, "Oh, we didn't know."
Right.
The very first interview, you told him that. Right out of the box. Here it is.
There it is.
Did they not believe you, or did they? I guess
they didn't care.
They didn't care.
They
Exactly.
had such an agenda.
Right.
To run you up the river that they didn't care what they saw it's evident.
And I'll say this in my opinion, because I know Jacob's got to be careful. I think they wanted to label everyone domestic terrorists so they could start using the Patriot Act against citizens of the United States to try to shut it down, like they just got all the Bank of America information that Director Wray had to admit last week. Every transaction between January 5th and January 6th by Bank of America was provided voluntarily to the FBI. Every gun purchase made on a Bank of America card within 6 months of January 6th was provided to the FBI without subpoena, without due cause. And so this is a guy who walks into an arena full of agents who have one objective, in my opinion, which is to find him guilty of something so they can make him the face of this quote-unquote seditious conspiracy.
They're going to pencil whip this report to make it look like, again, he's the face of January 6th, and then they're going to run him up the river.
Correct.
And they're going to withhold, really, 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 really valuable stuff that will be in this guy's favor. They're going to withhold that, and that's why he's back in the system.
But I think what we're missing here is, and I think Jacob will confirm this, is the reason they wanted to trade this from a misdemeanor trespass to a seditious event, make it so that they could deny him the civil rights that most criminal defendants are afforded, like a speedy trial,
bail,
not being in solitary confinement. They actually mentally and physically tortured this man, an American veteran that, unlike the majority of Americans, was willing to put his life on the line for our country, and then went in armed with makeup and said that he was trying to take over the government. It's absolutely unconscionable, and they did it only so they could stoke fear in any other future protests and stifle this man's ability to freely express his thoughts, to have his freedom, and to have the rights that we've afforded every other American in this country for the last 250 years.
That he fought for at one time.
He fought for it and was willing to sacrifice his life. Shame on the government. I feel so badly for people like you that were just wrongly, unjustly, and I think criminally, maliciously prosecuted.
Now, do you think that, and I know they have municipal immunity and stuff like that, but do you think Jacob could ever be compensated for this? Or
I don't know. I think more important to Jacob, and I think we should let Jacob answer this, but I think more important to Jacob is the truth and peace going forward. peace and I think self-awareness. I think, Jacob's a very spiritual man.
Yes.
And it's not just about like, let's overthrow the government. His thing is like, let's think, let's progress, let's be better.
Let him say
That
it.
is
I think you're right,
100%
Dan.
correct. That is 100% correct. I'm more so now focused on ensuring that what happened to me doesn't happen to anybody else, and that we unify as a country, because a country divided is most certain to fall. So I'm of the belief that if what can happen to me can become something that's used for something positive, then, dude, I see myself as a victor, not a victim. You see, I went through 10 and a half months of solitary confinement. I went through 27 months of imprisonment and came out better, came out stronger.
Wow.
You know what I
respect
mean?
that so much.
That is such a great take on what you went through, because a lot of people wouldn't have that mindset. That is such a great mindset.
We were
Jacob.
talking about it before you came on, is how many days would it take of solitary confinement for people like us to go a bit insane? And I mean, the truth is, it wouldn't take me a week. We joked it wouldn't take my brother 8 hours. And so that you were able to do
maybe.
all of these months and come out of it with this positive attitude. I mean, what was that like for you as a person? Did it transform you? Did it reaffirm your convictions? I mean, what did it do to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, so prior to January 6th, I believed that the media and the government were corrupt. And after everything I've experienced, it's only affirmed those views. You know what I'm saying?
No, you've only affirmed and multiplied those views. And proven those views. What you thought going in, now.
Well, yeah, especially considering that all the stories in the media about me were just complete malarkey.
Mm-hmm.
It was total gobbledygook and word salad crap. They said that I was a failed actor, never acted a day in my life. They said that I gave myself the name QAnon Shaman, never ever happened. They said that I was mentally unstable, bipolar, delusional, schizophrenic, depressed. None of those things were in my psychological evaluation.
That's most of us here.
None of those things were in my psyche
No,
valve.
I know.
None of it was in my psyche valve. So it's like, it's very, very clear that there is ulterior motive, that there is an agenda, that Operation Mockingbird, I'm sure you guys know about that, where the CIA infiltrated the media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Operation Mockingbird, bro. Like the government and the media are working together.
They're trying to
in
make the CIA
lockstep.
look good.
The gangs and the government are no different, man. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's
the
like
same thing.
Tupac said, dude. It's all gangs. It's all gangs.
Yeah.
And some of them just have, the initiation of force, a monopoly on the initiation of force on their side. Now, I think it's really important to mention, though, there are a lot of good people in the FBI. There are a lot of good people in the CIA.
This dude's so honest.
What's happened is that the leadership is corrupted. And then so from the top down, the leadership controls what gets investigated, what doesn't, where people are placed on which investigations, which things get investigated, et cetera, et cetera.
Trust me, we know that here locally. We've been through some things like that. Yes.
Justice is not uniform, and it's a shame because the actor has no idea what the consequence is, because it depends on who you are. And where it's happening, and who's in charge that month,
and who's in charge,
and who's in charge that month,
exactly. and who they answer to, who at the end of the day is pulling their puppet strings.
I have one more question.
That's correct.
What's your thoughts on Ray Epps?
Well, once again, it's very telling how it is that the government and the media chose to handle all of that. Could you imagine if I had said or done any of the things that Ray Epps said or did?
Oh my God!
I mean, it sounds like you did worse, and yet you did none of that.
I would never do anything like that. But the point that I'm making when it comes to Ray Epps is that it is very telling how much this guy has been handled with kid gloves. Now, I don't know the details of this man's life, and I'm not going to assume that I do based on a little tiny bit of evidence that it seems to be out there. However, I don't trust people. I don't trust institutions. What I trust are patterns. And what we're seeing with Ray Epps is a very clear pattern of handling him with kid gloves, the media going to bat for him. They're trying to change the narrative from being an insurrection to a protest or a demonstration, just so that they can end up changing the narrative for this one guy. And I mean, dude, that right there is a pattern of corruption, in my opinion.
Dan,
I agree.
Dan, who's Ray Epps?
Ray Epps is the older white-haired gentleman that was seen in multiple videos, literally inciting the crowd to storm the Capitol.
Days before, too.
And for days.
And people
for
called him
literally
out
a
for
day
being
or
a
two
Fed.
before, they said he was a Fed. They were pointing to him, this guy's a Fed, he's a plant. And for some reason, he was the only person that they didn't prosecute that was identified and had any kind of, but he just not like he had like a little bit to do with it. Like he was literally spending 2 days trying to stir the crowd up to storm the Capitol. And for some reason escaped all scrutiny and prosecution.
And the media went to bat for him.
Right.
The media
Defended him.
went to bat for him.
The day before Tucker got fired, they did a 60 Minutes piece on him, and it made him like he was some hero for attending the protest and the demonstration, and how they showed the part of him, you know, where he was trying to incite people to go, and then the day of, he's literally at the gates, and he's trying to stop them after he incited them for 2 days, or allegedly incited them for 2 days.
Well, no, dude, he whispers something in somebody's ear, and then that's when they go up and start shaking the barricades.
Right.
Oh, well, he claims now that he whispered to tell the guy to calm down.
Don't do
That's what
anything.
he said now. That's what the media is reporting.
Yeah, that's what they're reporting now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if the media's reporting it, you know it's BS.
Well, yeah. I mean, so,
You're right, Jacob.
so Jacob, moving forward, you know, what's next for you? What message are you getting out? What's next for you? You obviously have, I know you have a couple Rumble shows. You're on Truth Social. You're on Twitter. And you know, you have a great platform to get what are you spewing nowadays? What's your platform?
All right. So I also have a website, ForbiddenTruthAcademy.com. Now, I am a spiritual activist. I am not a political activist. I believe that the reason why our socioeconomic and geopolitical systems are so corrupt and distorted is because our spiritual beliefs, our spiritual view of reality has become so distorted, and our religious institutions are so corrupt. So I think that once we handle the spiritual issue, then the socioeconomic and geopolitical systems will end up being corrected as a reflection of that spiritual correction. Now, that's why I have a message of unity. That's why I have a message of love and of peace, and yes, forgiveness and freedom. So I push in pretty much every single interview that I have, every single spaces that I attend, and in a lot of my podcasts, because I have a podcast, Forbidden Truth Podcast, and I also have the Occult Apocalypse Show, both of which are on Rumble. I push constantly 2 things. Number 1, Tesla Tower technology, infinite free, clean, wireless electricity. Okay, we've known about it and had it for over 100 years. It has not seen the light of day because this quote unquote new world order, this one world government that these globalist less than 1%ers are trying to create, cannot exist with infinite free, clean, wireless electricity. And I also push Dr. Rife, that's R-I-F-E, Royal Raymond Rife, and the machine that he created in the 1930s that is able to basically destroy diseases with sound and frequency. Similar to how you can destroy a wine glass with sound and frequency, you can also destroy cancer cells and viruses and parasites and all sorts of stuff with sound and frequency. So the reason why I push these things is this. Everybody, Republican and Democrat alike, can agree that if there is an infinite free, clean source of wireless electricity, it should be released to the public, and that's what we should be using. Everybody can agree that if there's a cure for cancer or disease, and there are many, not just Dr. Rife's machine, but if there's a cure for cancer and disease, then it should be released to the public in spite of the fact that it will have a negative effect on the pharmaceutical company's profits.
Yeah, but
everybody can agree on
but Big Jacob, you know as well as I do that Big Pharma, lock, stock, and barrel. They run the show. Period. I mean, they
don't look. Hold on. They don't run this show.
No,
right
I know.
here
No,
in
you're right.
between your ears.
You're right.
Okay?
Right.
Now this is really important, okay? Because the war that we are in is a war for the mind. And we are not going to win a war for the mind with bullets. That's not how it works. How it works is ideas. You win a war for the mind with the best ideas and the ability to articulate those ideas in a fluent and reasonable manner. So you can't be frothing at the mouth. You can't be screaming at people. You have to be in a state of peace and calm inside, and you have to be able to articulate these things in a reasonable fashion that makes sense to people that may not necessarily understand what you're talking about.
But Jacob,
Now,
here's the deal. They got us so worked up. The media has us so worked up that unfortunately people cannot take a step back and even fathom your spirituality and your open-mindedness and the ability to be able to have constructive conversations with the opposition. We are so worked up. The media's got us worked up. They've got us polarized. Everything from abortion to immigration they just got us. It's a feeding frenzy right now. And unfortunately, there's not I would hope that we could get everybody to think like you, but you know as well as I do that the two-party system, what we got going on right now, they got exactly what they want, and that is that we hate each other. The only time we like each other right now as a country is when there's an Olympics and we're rooting for the USA guy against the France guy. That's the only time we care about each other is during the Olympics. And we are so polarized, and we are so unhealthy. And it's prime example of what happened to you. Just how unhealthy the system and everything our government really is, from the top to the bottom, from the enforcement bureau of our government to the executive side of our government, to the Senate, to the Capitol, all of it. We're so polarized and at each other's throats that they'll sentence an innocent man like you doing a protest to 41 months in federal prison.
And they'll label him all these false things that he wasn't.
Right.
Well, they're trying to send a message.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Yes, they are trying to send a message.
They make an example out of you. This is what's going to happen to you if you try to do the same thing.
But the thing is that they probably couldn't have picked a worse person to make a straw man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because your message, Jacob,
guys,
is
life is beautiful. It's the system that's ugly.
right.
All right. And what we have to do is we have to be an example of that beautiful life that the system is destroying.
Right. Your
And
message
you
is
say that-
self-actualization. You want
Yes.
to erase the noise and the distraction, be peaceful, have inner peace. And once you establish that inner peace and that freedom from the minutia and distraction that they are trying to force upon us to distract us from the real problem, once you achieve that state of self-actualization, then you are able to openly, honestly, and effectively understand and produce change.
That comes from the most stressed out guy here, by the way.
And that threatens the establishment, which is what they're trying to prevent.
Right.
Right? Is that right, Jacob? Is that a way to summarize it?
Well, yes. So you represent the God that you serve. And if you are coming at people in a Christ-like fashion with love and peace and harmony in heart and in mind, then your message will get across, even if you're just planting seeds. This isn't going to be, you're not going to be able to change some of these people's minds overnight, but you can plant seeds that will destroy the concrete of ideology in their mind. And you'll get flowers from those cracks in the concrete. And eventually the concrete will be covered and it won't matter that it's there. What we're talking about here is neuro-linguistic programming and psychological warfare techniques. And through these techniques, we have created, a polarized system. However, it is through these same techniques that the damage done by the system can also be reversed.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to understand how these techniques work in order to employ them to our benefit as opposed to our detriment.
Jacob, what do you think is going to happen in the next election?
Oh, I really don't know. In
I mean,
all
you
honesty,
do.
like,
You do
look,
know. You do know, but you probably just want to stay out of it.
well,
I don't
no,
think he
I
knows.
never run from controversy, bro. I'll be real with you. I never run from controversy. My thing is this. I love Donald Trump, and he has my support in his bid for the presidency. But in all of the candidates that I have seen, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, uh, uh,
Nikki
RFK
Haley.
Jr., Nikki Haley, Joe Biden. None of these people, and this would even include Trump to a certain extent, are articulating the nature of the problems that we are dealing with. They're all just giving rah talking points. Nobody's articulating exactly how to solve these problems. They're just saying, when I get in office, we're going to do this. When I get in office, we're going to do that. Now, let me tell you something about people that run for president or any public office. If they aren't already in office, if they don't have a security clearance that allows them to be privy to certain information, then they're just making promises, empty promises that they think people want to hear, because until they can actually get the intel, they're just flapping at the lips. So my opinion is, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it fully. And if you can't explain to me what the deep state is, and I can explain it in 2 minutes, if you can't explain to me what the deep state is, then you don't know how it is that you're going to get rid of it.
Well, you're probably part of the deep state, right?
No.
Not you.
Why do
I'm
you say
saying
that?
I'm saying people who are running for office.
People.
The you is the people running. The politicians is the you.
Not you.
Not you. Yeah, you're the opposite.
Jacob, not you, Jacob, not you,
No,
Jacob, not
no.
you,
I was
buddy.
saying the people
We're
running
saying
for
the
office
people
don't
you're
wanna
talking about.
Call out the deep state because the part of the machine that it's running on.
Yes, it is. And it is a war machine.
Right.
Okay. So what it's about, what the deep state is, you guys, is it is the bureaucracy. It basically constitutes a fourth branch of government. When the founders founded our country, they founded it based on the idea of the separation of powers. 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. And the reason why they split it up was because they were dealing with the crown, was all of these things consolidated into one centralized power. The crown was able to create new law and enforce that law with his army, and then it was able to adjudicate that law that he created through the courts that he owned. So that is their definition of tyranny. That's the founders' definition of tyranny. Now, what we're dealing with the bureaucracy is they are in charge of, quote unquote, regulating commerce. Okay. Now, those regulations are essentially the creation of law. All right. And they also have their own law enforcement or regulatory enforcement within their bureaucratic agencies. So they have legislative and executive, and they have their own administrative courts that are outside of the federal system. This centralization of all 3 branches of government is in effect tyranny. And there's over 500 federal agencies in the federal government. And each of them, I guarantee you, each of them at the tippy top is being run by a guy like Fauci that has been in office way longer than the person that appointed them, and is working in collusion with the very corporations that they have been charged with regulating. So this is fascism. This is why Tesla Tower technology has never made its way to the public. This is why Dr. Reif and his machine has never made its way to the public, because the very corporations that these regulatory agencies are supposed to be regulating and making sure that there is a free capitalistic market are the very agencies that are standing in the way of the people getting this stuff, and they're doing it for the corporations. Essentially, the corporations are using the government's monopoly on the initiation of force to enforce the corporate will.
With former government employees, half the people running the pharmaceutical companies used to work for the FDA, the NIH, the CDC. They buy and pay for all their executives, and then they have a backdoor pass right into the lobbying for the governments that they're supposed to be regulated by.
Has anybody ever seen the George Carlin piece, and he's up there on stage and he goes, "The reason why we don't matter, none of us, millionaires, actors, comedians, it doesn't matter if you, the reason why none of us in this room and anybody that we know, the reason why we're not nothing is because we're not part of the special group that runs things. There's a special group of people that run almost everything that goes on."
Yep.
And I believe him. I believe him.
So what's the solution? Just to try to keep talking? How do you beat a machine like that? The deep state.
I mean, man, it's going to
I
take.
mean, I'm not saying you have an answer, but like.
No, I do have an answer.
Okay.
That's the best part. Okay. And it's actually really, really simple. So it's a multi-leveled. First of all, if we learned anything from Trump's first administration, getting one man on our side in the White House is not going to be able to change the system.
Right.
It can, that person can do some level of change, but what you really need is you need a president that understands this problem. Okay, and willing to fire people that are at the tippy top of these bureaucratic agencies. Number two, what you're going to need is a legislative branch that understands these issues and is willing to either defund or restructure the bureaucratic agencies.
But why would
And
they want to
number
cut their
three-
own power, though?
Well, but that's
You know what I mean?
that's the thing. That's exactly yes. So that's why I said you're going to need to elect people within the legislature that understand this issue and have the courage, have the balls
Yeah.
or the ovaries to stand up and say, "Hell
Thanks.
no, we're not doing it."
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is the other portion of this issue. Okay, and this is why I push Dr. Reif and Tesla Tower technology, because you can't just talk about destroying the old system. We're talking about the infrastructure of our entire nation. What you have to do is you have to make a new system that renders the old system obsolete. And you have to use the old system as the scaffolding for the building of the new. So think about it. With Tesla Tower technology, you have infinite free, clean wireless energy. So now, not only do we make all pollution obsolete associated with the extraction of resources, but we also make resources infinite, which means that the oil companies can't control our economy. These wind turbines, the solar panels, the lithium mining, all that stuff goes right out the window. And also keep in mind, most of our wars are fought in order to procure resources. So if you make resources infinite, you make war obsolete. So it stops the war machine. Another example is these Tesla towers have the ability to be used as a global communication device. So now the globalists run communication towers, the cell phones, the satellites, the computers, the Wi-Fi, all of those things are made obsolete based on this new technology. Right now, we also have the capability of creating economic surplus through innovation. When there's a new form of energy, then new inventions are designed to run based on that new form of energy. New inventions are created to use those things as communication devices or what have you. So it basically stimulates our economy. All right. And this is the cool part. These Tesla Tower technology, these Tesla Towers and the technology associated with them, and Dr. Reif and his machine can actually be used to stimulate the growth of plants. So agriculture then goes through the roof. We will have a surplus of food, and we can use these frequencies to purify the water supply, to get rid of the geoengineering stratospheric aerosol injection pollution in the air. We can use it also to improve the microbiological life in the soil and the environment for the soil. We can use it to clean up messes like what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, or what just happened in Pennsylvania, or what just happened in Louisiana. Okay, these are the real problems.
But hold on, Jacob. Now,
I say.
But when you talk about this Tesla wireless infinite, I don't even know what you're talking. Like, I think the average American.
Yeah, I know.
The average American. Like, I mean, this all sounds great. I'm all for, man, we need to sign up for that Tesla Power Yippee-Yo thing as fast as we possibly can. What is it? I've never heard of it.
Okay, so the Earth is surrounded by an electromagnetic field. We all know this. Now, this electromagnetic field goes all the way down to the core of the planet, which means that across the crust of the planet, there are locations where this electromagnetic activity is at its highest, right? These are called ley lines, L-E-Y, ley lines, okay? Ley lines, and these ley lines crisscross all over the planet. And it is on these ley lines and where they crisscross that all of the pyramids and obelisks and ancient temples and stuff like that all over the planet have been built. It's also on these ley lines that Washington, D.C. and the White House and the Capitol building and the Supreme Court and the Washington Monument, all these things are built on ley lines. Now, Tesla Tower technology is based on the use of these ley lines and the electromagnetic frequencies that are there and amplifying them to a certain radius that surrounds the Tesla Tower. And basically, it's using the Earth like a gigantic electromagnet, where you can send and receive electricity and information through the Earth itself.
Now, when you call
here's the cool part.
When you call it Tesla, Is it because Elon Musk is the one that's working on this, or is
Tesla towers from
That's
the
hilarious.
1900s?
No, dude, no. Yeah, Nikola Tesla is the reason why Elon Musk calls his corporation Tesla,
Right.
which is really kind of interesting to me, because if he understands and knows what Nikola Tesla is trying to do, then why is he using lithium batteries in his cars? He should be using this idea of infinite free clean energy. And Tesla actually developed a vehicle that could run on this stuff. Now, this is why I also push Tesla Tower technology and Dr. Rife so much, okay? Because if you look into Tesla, if you look into Dr. Rife, okay, what you're going to find is a couple of things. Number one, you're going to find the entities that corrupted the United States government in the early 1900s and how they've basically been running the economy ever since. You're going to find the same entities that created the Federal Reserve. Number two, you're going to find all of the uses for this technology, not just to say cure diseases, but also give us infinite free clean energy, use it as a communication device, use it to control the weather, use it to basically make war obsolete and to
But
give us lots of food
infinite,
through
accessible, sorry, if it's infinite, accessible, and free, then obviously the powers that be are going to want to suppress that because there's no profits. You know, that's why you said, the pharmaceutical company doesn't want you to know about natural remedies, because then if they're available to everybody, then that completely eliminates their market. The pharmaceutical company doesn't want you to be healthy; it wants you to be sick, because then you'll be an eternal customer. So I don't understand how we can go ahead.
Well, yeah, I understand. And this is why I'm saying they don't control this right here in between your ears. So if this is a war for the mind, it's not going to be one with bullets. It's going to be one with ideas.
Right.
Okay. And what we have to do is we have to talk about this stuff. We have to spread the word, because once there is a demand, there will be a supply. Okay. And the final reason why I continue to harp on Dr. Rife and Tesla Tower technology is because in order to understand how this technology works, you have to understand three things: energy, frequency, and vibration. And Nikola Tesla himself said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So by investigating this technology, by investigating the men that created it and the suppression of it, you get three things: government corruption at its inception and how it leads to the Federal Reserve. You get the technological innovation that's going to lead us into the future and end up making the old system obsolete. And number three, you get the secrets of the universe that unfold right before you.
It's so scary that's why they're going to keep it down. It's exactly why they're going to try to keep it.
But this is the thing. We have to look. This is a war for the mind. So you have to stop allowing them to believe that they can control what it is that we say and do. Notice every time that they try to do something and there's enough of a public backlash, they'll back up and say, okay, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay. Okay. It's because we outnumber them. They are afraid of us. They're not doing the things that they're doing with this tyranny because they're confident, but because they're afraid. They're not doing it because they feel strong. They're doing it because they feel weak. We're talking about less than 1% of the human population here. Okay. So imagine for just a second.
That's like 95% of the wealth. And yes, money is power.
But the wealth is based on debt. The wealth is based on an illusion. The real wealth is in the resources. It's in the food. It's in the water.
Okay.
So look at it like this. Okay. Klaus Schwab is talking about how everybody is going to wear uniforms, live in 15-minute cities, and eat bugs, right?
Right.
And you got a lot of people that are angry about that.
Is this the World Economic Forum guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm laughing because the idea that that's going to happen is absolutely ludicrous. And the more people that feed into that illusion that he's trying to create, the more people that allow his vision of the future to creep into their minds, then the more power we give him. If we laugh at people like Klaus Schwab, if we laugh at people like the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds, if we laugh at these people, like, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I ain't living in no 15-minute city. I ain't eating bugs, and I sure as hell ain't wearing no uniform that you tell me to wear. That right there is the crux of the issue. They're trying to control our minds. So I want you to envision for a second a future with infinite free, clean, wireless electricity. Envision a future that has a cure for diseases. Envision a future with flying vehicles like the TR-3B, the patent that just got released by Donald Trump in 2020, declassified, anti-gravity, inertia propulsion craft. You can look it up. It was patented by a guy named Salvador Payas. You can look it up on Google.
This guy is amazing. Jacob, I gotta.
I'm riveted.
Can we get him back sometime?
Yeah, here's the deal. We're running really late on time, but I am a huge advocate of what you're slinging, and I would love to, in a couple weeks, have you back. I could talk to you all day. I mean, now that you know we're friend, not foe, and when we're dancing with you, can we book you again here soon?
Yeah, and I'll try to get up earlier too, so we could have more time.
No, we want to do it on a censored show too,
or we could do it later, like an hour from now. Like we got 2 shows. You know, we could either do the first show like this show, but then we have another show too that's a little bit more uncensored, and I would really like to have you on that show, which would like maybe be an hour from now. So
Sure.
and time, and we can go longer on that deal. So. Man, thank you so much. And by the way, the best way to get a hold of Jacob is just to go to his website, which is forbiddentruthacademy.com. That's got everything. He's also on Truth Social, Twitter, American Shaman, Rumble. He's got 2 shows on Rumble, but it all starts and stops with forbiddentruthacademy.com. Jacob, I'd love to have you on in a few weeks and even go longer with you if that's okay.
Absolutely. It would be my honor and my pleasure. And I thank you all for listening and having an open mind.
And I
Thank you,
think
Jacob. That was awesome.
We can win this.
I thank you for your
win this war,
service,
you
and I
guys.
thank you for your mind, and I thank you for your studliness, and I look forward to talking to you again, my friend.
Thank you. God bless, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
God bless.
Jake.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Man, what a great dude.
Full
Huh?
lap.
I love that guy.
What a misinterpreted human.
Oh, what a great dude.
Yeah, that was
Man,
awesome.
with a great
That was so awesome.
Bubba's great at doing these interviews because he gets him to say things. I never heard that he was getting out anyway because he served his full sentence. I don't think that's anywhere out there.
I don't think it is either. I know I'm late as hell,
Break time.
and I know probably Jen is full hot.
Oh yeah.
It's the Bubba the Love Sponge Show.
The Bubba the Love Sponge Show.
Hey, we'll be right back.